When I was little, I always wanted to draw. I had a terrific, I don't know, like an urge to keep drawing. My parents weren't educated in the arts at all, and no one ever mentioned sculpture to me. So it wasn't until I went to an art school, because art was about the only thing I could do. I had an interview with my careers master at the grammar school that I went to, which was in Maidstone in Kent. And he said to me, "What are you going to do with yourself when you leave school?" So I said, "Well, I'd like to go to art school, sir." And I remember him saying, "Well, that's great, because even if you're never any good, your years at art school will be the best years of your life." In the first year at art school, we did life drawing, all sorts of things. And part of the first year's work was to do clay modelling. As soon as I had some clay in my hands, I felt a great affinity for the material. I felt that I could handle it. And I don't know why, but I just suddenly had a feeling for it. And I consider myself the most fortunate of people, because ever since that time, I've never done anything else. I work to a routine which is pretty well the same all the week. I get up at about 6. I'm fortunate enough to have my own swimming pool, so I go and have a swim, have breakfast, feed the dogs. Then I come in here and I do a bit of writing or answer a few letters. And then I come in here about 9ish, and I work to 1, and I go into the house and have lunch, come back here at 2, work here usually till about 7. So that's my routine. I don't get on with assistants working every day. I usually am sort of sidetracked by them. I'm always wondering what they're doing. The thing about sculpture is you can never tell anybody what to do. You have to show them or do it yourself. So I much prefer to do it myself, and although it takes longer, and there are many sculptors that use lots of assistants, but I like to make my own marks on my own work. I don't want somebody else working on my things, because there's a certain something that comes from your hands that no one else can repeat. So I'm rather precious in the way that I don't have assistants if I can avoid them, and I only use them when we're working on large pieces where, you know, an extra bit of manpower is essential. My daughter, Saskia, when she was little, she used to go to dance class, and her teacher used to put her in for various competitions that were being held all through the Midlands towns. And so I had the job, sometimes a mother, mostly me, of taking her to her dance competitions. And in that case, I would have to sit there all day watching her do her stuff and waiting most likely 2 or 3 hours before she would perform again, and looking at lots of little girls dancing. So after sitting there for a couple of days, I thought, well, these are really beautiful little children, and I ought to try and make some sculptures of them. So I did, and so I've been doing sculptures of little dancing figures ever since. This little sculpture is a portrait, really, of my wife Angie. She was my model, and still is to a degree, for many, many years. She has a simple beauty about her body that appealed to me very much. And this little sculpture was a small version of a large piece that I sent to the Royal Academy, which caused a minor sensation because it portrayed a woman half-dressed. It seemed to somehow just be considered to be extremely sexy. We're looking at a bust here of Jomo Kenyatta, President Kenyatta of Kenya, which was the first major work that I made. It's twice life size, and it was commissioned by the Kenyan government. Well, this is the model of a figure of Daedalus, which I made for the Fleet Air Arm Memorial, which is set up on the embankment at Charing Cross, because many of the Fleet Air Arm men that died, for which this is a memorial, were pilots. So his head is looking down, because it's quite a high figure and looking down at us, and his face is now tragic. So he's not a powerful, handsome, winged figure. He's more like an idea of mourning. Well, this is my statue of Field Marshal Alexander. He's in Wellington Barracks by Birdcage Walk. He was a very proud man and a very powerful and artistic character. You can see here he's standing as if he's standing on a rising piece of ground. I was shown the site in the parade ground, really, of the Wellington Barracks. He had to be of a size that gave him a certain sense of presence, because he was to stand quite close to the Guards' Chapel. Well, this is a model of a memorial I've got in Crepon in Normandy for the Green Howards, a Yorkshire regiment who lost a lot of men on the D-Day landings. And my brief from the Green Howards was that they wanted a soldier in a mood of contemplation. So this is not a portrait of a man, of a particular man. It's an unknown soldier. This is Richard III, a memorial statue, which is in Leicester, and it was commissioned by the Richard III Society, who believed that Richard was a much maligned king, and they feel it's their duty to somehow redress the balance. Now, King Richard would have been a horseman, so I had to choose an armour that would have been suitable for him to ride on horseback. He was the last English king to die in battle, and so there seems to be no argument that he was a very brave fighting soldier. This is a memorial to Reg Harris. Reg Harris was one of our most famous international sprint cycling champions. During the late 40s and 50s, he was an international name, and now he was a very powerful man, had extraordinarily well-developed thighs and legs, as most sprint cyclists do. So, of course, the tricky thing from my point of view was how to get the figure to sit on a bike in bronze. There was one thing that most sprinters have, most sprinting cyclists, developed a great curvature of the back. Because they're so powerfully built, and they're usually hunched over the handlebars. They have the thing which is called a sprinter's hump. It seemed fitting that a statue of him, a tribute to him, should be set up in the National Cycling Centre. This is a memorial statue to Billy Wright, which stands in front of the Molyneux Stadium at Wolverhampton. He was a great international player, and of course he played for Wolverhampton Wanderers for the most part of his life. I don't think I've got a specific philosophy. I mean, I live reasonably frugally. I don't have a philosophy that dictates how I look upon things. I don't really concern myself much about a specific philosophy. I think I work regularly. I try to be reasonably civil and pleasant to my family. I enjoy the company of my dogs sometimes. I don't muck around with other women. I think I live a sort of reasonably simple life. So I haven't got any proper philosophy about things. I mean, I don't plan what I do. I'm not governed by an inner conviction about what is the right thing to do. I like the idea of heroic people. To see somebody that has achieved an enormous amount, whether it be, by great deeds or by just simple sportsmanship, can make me choke up a bit. I feel almost near to tears. And I admire that dedication and self-will enormously. I don't think I've got it in any way like that, but I admire that in other people. So I must be a bit of a slob, really, because I just haven't got a philosophy of life. I think all in all, the best thing that's happened to me is meeting my wife, Angie. South African girl, came over to England to study art, and I was fortunate enough to be her tutor. I get locked up for that sort of thing nowadays. But we got to know each other after a couple of years at art school. And she's the most extraordinary woman, I think. We've had a great life together. Not all been beer and skittles, but it's pretty well a fantastic life. She's the most extraordinary woman. She's got tremendous spirit about her. She's gentle and kind, much more than I am. And I reckon that meeting her and marrying her and living with her for getting on for 30 years is the best thing that has ever happened to me. This will earn me no end of brownie points, of course, if she ever sees this. But I can't think of any other thing that would that I could put up against that. I'd like to be remembered as a sculptor of worth. I suppose my kids will remember me for a while. I suppose that I've got a number of statues all around England, as I suppose people will look at my name and maybe remember what I did. I do think I'm ordinary. I know that I've got an extraordinary way of living, a job. My job is extraordinary. I mean, not many people do what I do, so that's extraordinary. The quality of my work, I hope, is extraordinary. I don't know, it's not for me to say, but I have a feeling that I have an extraordinary ability to make
sculptures.